we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back because we are now for sure 100% no takesies backsies getting back into the first game of the semifinals of Kings of the Storm Weekly number 5. FourCourtJester with the big and beautiful beard, the Kevin Naki. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great, actually.
I'm restless.
Yes, I just want to cast. I want to cast something. Unfortunately,
so let's get into it. Let's just do it.
All right, fine. All right. Oh, jeez. Okay. We are on Cursed Hollow, ladies and gentlemen, and our bans have started. So Dunk Train on the Cloud9 side going to start out with a Tychus ban. Of course, that has been happening quite a bit lately. That's he had no changes during the patch, and he was one of those tier 1 first pick heroes already. So a lot of the other tier 1 guys got nerfed. Anubarak got nerfed. Nova got nerfed. And so eventually you start to see, well, your general overall number 1 pick is probably going to be him. So pretty good ban there. And a ban of Tassadar on the other side, despite all the nerfs.
If your name starts with T in this game, you're very, very powerful. Tassadar, Tyrael, Tychus, they've all been ban-worthy in the past.
This game has had the highest proportion of TY names to non-TY. Tyrande, Tychus, Tyrael. Yeah. It's crazy for the pool that we have here. All right, so we had a first pick, Arthas, that has been, I think unless he's been banned, he has been first picked every single time so far, so that's no surprise. And that's followed right back up with a Kerrigan Falstad. Now, we saw Glaurung playing Kerrigan on that awesome Countess Kerrigan skin, I might add, in the past couple of sets very effectively.
So, yeah, I'm a little curious, in terms of the new tiers, where do melee assassins lie? I mean, we talked a little bit about Illidan. He did get something of a buff in the last patch, in this patch, but Kerrigan didn't really get touched. I don't think there was actually any patch notes about the Countess, but she has some pretty awesome looking skins, and now to see it here on Glorious, this is actually very interesting, and it's a first pick Kerrigan, which means that they put a lot of emphasis on either denying it from Cloud9, or they're going to be running something that they can afford to spend that slot, that important slot, to pick her up. So I'm very curious to see what's going to go on.
I mean, does Kerrigan, besides hard CC against her, does she have any strong counter picks, though?
If you can't take her down, her Maelstrom will wreck you in fights, just like an Odin would. But
that's what I'm saying. So like you have like hard CC, maybe someone like a Diablo even is a really good counter to Kerrigan if Kerrigan would get picked up enough eventually. But like Kerrigan, I don't feel that's a terrible first pick if they know they want to hold on to her, because she doesn't have, like I said, a ton of obvious counter picks in my opinion, besides just like really hard CC and knocking her down because of her range.
Well, every time I've seen a Kerrigan in NA, they just lock her down and they blow her up. Yeah, stuns with combination strikes on Chen into 1 or 2 lasers, depending if there's an avatar on the map. That has worked out very well in the past. That's actually up against the Quibsy on the Kerrigan. So, Glorious, if you can't CC her to death or you can't blow her up, yeah, she'll do just fine. But if you can blow her up, she's dead weight. So, again, very interested to see where it's going to go. Flip side, though, Vala and Uther. So once again, we have the Arthas-Uther combo. This is a very popular frontline sustained control combo.
And I think we can officially now say that Vala's back into kind of tier 1 assassin status, or at least that's what it seemed. I don't know if I've seen a single game yet that hasn't had a Vala played. She has a crazy amount of sustained damage. And like we said, now that Tychus has been a lot more common ban because he didn't receive any changes in the patch, Vala's been played a lot more.
Well, we've also had some bans out on the Tychuses, but that's pretty common these days. Still, going forward, more damage going to be coming the way here. ZPs and crew, not only do they get the Anubarak, which is a very curious frontliner pick because of, we've talked about him getting neutered basically, but Jaina. So they have Jaina, Falstad, Kerrigan. I'm curious to see if this is going to be a Kerrigan, Jaina, Roam, because that sounds very scary off the top of my head.
Gotcha. Kerrigan, Jaina, Roam? Yeah, I mean, stun, slow, damage the entire time, right? That's actually kind of cool. We'll see what they want to pair with that. But Anubarak, we haven't seen an Anubarak pick yet just because of the lack of rewind. Not as many available. Let's see here. Oh, by the way, just Keen Caffeine passing on a note about the stream title. Just a heads up.
Oh, yeah.
And but Anubarak, without rewind, has a lot less versatility and escapes in fights. Essentially, what you would do with Anubarak is you would jump into a fight, literally, you just burrow right into it, pop people up, keep stunning folks and things like that. Then you could rewind and either continue to do damage and add more disruptions, or you could jump back out of there, because Anubarak as a hero, as a warrior, I should say, does not have the most inherent tankiness. Decent sustain once you get up to Locust Swarm, but really, really dependent upon having that rewind at top levels. So I'm curious how ZP's plans to play him.
And again, some very interesting picks. So we almost have two polarizing team comps going into this one. Stitches to join the Arthas and Uther.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, we have ourselves Nazeebo.
And picking Nazeebo into an Anubarak right now. So Anubarak, Jaina, Kerrigan, Falstad. To be honest, though, if you think about that combination, there's not a lot of super hard CC and disruption outside of Anubarak, right? Jaina's not going to dive on top of Witch Doctor, right? Falstad, Shock and Awe could hit him, but he's not going to jump on top of him. Okay. Kerrigan is going to get lucky if she gets a Maelstrom on top of him, but she's probably going to get nuked if she goes down that far. So I don't mind the Nazeebo last pick.
No, and this is twice now. I'm pretty sure I turned off that Twitch alert this time. Thanks for the follow, but at the same time, yeah, Nazeebo, we saw this with Evil Geniuses in their games beforehand. They had themselves a Nazeebo Fade, played it out absolutely wonderfully, and it can pay off if you don't have those divers, if you don't have the damage to get into the backline or those hard CCs. Now, on the flip side, we need a healer for this triple assassin comp, and I'm not surprised whatsoever to see Rhaegar, who decided to not show up in my overlay for some reason.
Didn't show up in the overlay, sorry about that, but he is sporting that awesome, amazing reindeer skin, which looks oh so amazing. I do love watching that one. That's actually turned into one of my favorite ones. We have a lot of, I'm sorry, Rhaegar has died. All right, it looks like all 10 of our players are ready and we're good to go here. Let's go ahead and let them know.
Yeah, all you say. So Rhaegar to go with this, you know, a good amount of chain heals. He has the lightning shield that he can town out, plus an ancestral. But I have to wonder if this is going to be a bloodlust here on the Cursed Hollow, because you got triple assassin under your belt, Jaina with the auto attacks, the Falstad with the auto attacks, and of course the Kerrigan. I don't think it'll happen because they only have a Anubarak, and Anubarak's not exactly the biggest, tankiest guy, so they need that second health.
I agree too, and it's not like if you had Bloodlust and you were running like Tychus Vala or Tassadar Vala or something, oh yeah, it makes a lot more sense, you know? But I mean, without the big sustained damage dealers, I like Kerrigan with Bloodlust is kind of awkward. Falstad with Bloodlust is less awkward if you decide to go like Seasoned Marksman or something, but still kind of awkward. So I agree with you. I think this is going to be an ancestral healing comp, but I mean, Bloodlust certainly still does have decent utility.
All right, guys, game number one of your semis. Off to the left-hand side, it's going to be the Glorious Gaming Crew, ZPs and Glorong, to go with Koth and Luck, Syracuse, and Nirak. I'm going to be your blue hand side here. Game number one on the Cursed Hollow. Almost a little bit of a dancing setup here, but on their flip, it's going to be one of the new Cloud9 rosters, Cloud9 Maelstrom. You might recognize Biceps, Dunk Train, and King Caffeine from Team Liquid to pair up there with Kenma and Zuna. Everybody's on Nexus charges, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I like that too. I'm a big fan of the Nexus Charger. It's actually, despite the fact that I always just like bought a Rainbow Unicorn as soon as it was humanly possible, I like the Nexus Charger the best. I'm super happy with it. But yeah, so Cloud9 playing a team. Obviously, Liquid was known as kind of being that pro team that a big team picked up of people that were actually playing the game for real. But then Cloud9 came in with a bunch of established MOBA pros and was basically like, what of it? We're really good. So you've still got Zuna sitting around, who has obviously had a lot of experience with League of Legends. If you're a MOBA fan, you probably know who this guy is. And they have really strong players that have been involved in the hero scene for a long time in Biceps, King Caffeine, and Dunk Train. So I really like this team right now, and I think that they have the potential to go very far.
So it doesn't actually look like it's going to be the roaming combo I thought of, but it is going to be that damage combo to the bottom lane. Dunk Train gets defeated on the Nazebo. Really nice catch there by Glorong and Nirak. Syracuse, of course, is down here. They might be able to pick up the kill on top of Nirak, but he is going to be able to Ghost Wolf just away. And he's going to live to see another day. Kenma, however, has to deal with that Blizzard. And again, the Kerrigan and the Jaina, I don't know if they're going to be roaming, but at the same time, you saw the potential there with that lockup into slow.
I forgot they changed. That's right. Count as Kerrigan now as a bat when it flies. I remember they were working on that initially when I was there. And so, like, when I saw the skin released, I was like, oh no, why does she have a mount now? But the bat mode is in, and I'm super happy. That makes me tickle pink. All right, so down here in bot, I don't think, despite the fact that there's good sustain here with Uther, I don't think they're going to be able to hold against this. I think this is going to have to be a very aggressive Arthas game constantly to push them back. He's going to go in right now, and he actually takes a decent amount of damage, uses his Q, of course, to heal himself back out and walks out. But I think he's going to have to babysit. I don't think there's any way they just kind of give this up for a while. Well,
there's no roaming coming out from Glorious. So, I mean, if there's no roaming on one side, you're going to be suffering in a lane, which means you have to kind of, as you said, go back and babysit a little bit. Zuna up top is having a heck of a time up against Cottonluck, but it is King Caffeine bouncing back and forth. The ZPs is not giving him any opportunity to make these ganks worth it, and he's going to just be able to farm off with that. Oh my god, Dunk Train with the Envenom combo. Once you have that 20% range on the Primal Grasp, with Glorong, with that Kerrigan, oh my gosh, he can make things happen.
All right, so Nirak is pulled in. He's taking a lot of damage, but he was in his wolf form, throws off a chain heal, and he gets away. Can he get to the fountain before he ticks down? He does, and no harm, no foul. The ZPs comes down with 1 Q just to be annoying as possible there to the rest of Cloud9, but they're going to back away, and it's going to be Zuna versus Cottonluck up here up top.
Yeah, the tribute spawns. Cottonluck's actually not looking that healthy. I don't know if he has a fountain, but he's not actually going to be able to contest Zuna, and Zuna in a one-on-one wins tribute simply because it spawned. And as a note, again, everything for the first spawns are middle columns, but that could not have been more advantageous in timing there for Cloud9.
Oh, that was perfect for them, because not only is Zuna starting to win that war against Cottonluck, whereas he was getting pushed back pretty aggressively before, but now he's got objective control up there. He's forced Cottonluck all the way back to base. He gets free experience. It looks like Zuna was really worried about a Nubarak. The ZPs actually showed himself a little while up there and put a couple of beetles just to make it look like he was ready for a gank, and Zuna actually bid on that for a while. So he's falling back to his turrets now, but pretty good play from ZPs to prevent further experience there.
And here's the problem of ganking out that mid. The Burrow Strike for ZPs is very mobile, and if you don't land that combo, I mean, even then, 2 tanks against another this early game, it's not really going to be anything to write home about. So second tribute is going to be spawning down into the lower half of the map. It is going to be to the side of Glorious, and gonna give him a little bit of an edge. Falstead up top, of course, does have that fly. You see Vala coming down, but the little bit of footsies going on. Both sides are level 7 as well, so talents have just been put into effect. We'll take a look at them afterwards. But wow, the stitches!
Oh boy, and Syracuse gets nuked. Jaina's out of this fight, which means a lot of the damage is down for Cloud9 right now. I'm sorry, for Glorious right now. ZPs does get away. Cloud9 comes back in to try and grab this tribute. It looks like this is going to be 2-0 so far in their favor. So they have done a really nice job to this point of kind of bullying Glorious around the map. They're not necessarily, they don't have, obviously there's no kill disparity, but that half level disadvantage that you see so far is largely due to the fact, and that just disappeared because Cottonluck just bribed a couple of giants off to the left, but that was largely due to the fact that the zoning for Cloud9 was perfect. They were knocking people out of lane. They were getting free experience. Zuna had bullied around Cottonluck up top, so they're laning extremely well.
Interesting that Dunk Train actually took Clairvoyance on the Zebo at level 7.
You know what? I was actually, thank you for reminding me, because I was going to mention something about that. In that last fight, his Clairvoyance, it's basically at the same spot it is right now, down towards the boss. He actually revealed all 4 members of Glorious that were waiting and hiding, and that's how Stitches was able to grab Jaina out of the middle of that fight.
Well, there you go. Pays off pretty well right there. A little bit of a defeated gank into the bottom lane, but again, a bottom lane tribute. It means that the next one's actually going to be the top half of the map, because I don't believe it can do 3 in a row in the same hemisphere, which is top versus bottom. But Still, positioning is coming down. Vala's going to be racing down. Cawthon Luck is flying down immediately right now. Neither team is 10, but the posturing is strong. There goes the hook on top at Nirak, and ZP is going to be trying to put up a big front here. There's still no Vala. Cawthon Luck going to get his licks in, but we're a little bit split. And now you can see that Glorious and crew, they're going to be a bit more on the defensive because 10 is about to hit here. They've lost that window of opportunity to fight at 9.
Right, but if they give this up completely, that means they have to go back and defend a curse, which it looks like that's what they're doing.
They're
but this is gonna, yeah, they are prepared. But this is still really, really good though for Cloud9, because if they can find a place to engage just before their opponents hit 10, it looks like Falstad may make that so it doesn't happen. Then they can potentially move in and engage. There's level 10 now for Glorious, so they have their heroics as well.
Yeah, but Cawthon Luck, he's going to be defending out this mid. They're going to be trying to mitigate the damage. It's not going to be any boss attempts. We don't really have big advantages going either way, so it's going to be a bit more of a longer game here. And if we can mitigate only to 1 fort, then I think Glorious is going to be okay with that. Sure, they're a level down, but there's very little pressure coming into the top. There's very little pressure in the mid. In fact, it's actually going to be the boss now attempt here from Cloud9 Maelstrom, and that's just going to be pushing out a lane to the gates, and by then the curse is going to be basically done. So in terms of everything, all Glorious really lost out was a little bit of experience and a fort.
And I'm looking through the talents, and there's nothing too weird. Stitches decided, Biceps on Stitches decided to go for a partial slam, partial healing build, so he's got amplified healing and not just going straight into slam, as both teams kind of split at the moment. A pure Frostbolt build for Syracuse on Jaina, though. Winter's Reach into Frost Shards into Ice Lance. So his that means his Frostbolt now pierces. It has really long range, and it is going to do a ton of damage.
So the timings are actually not very favorable here to Glorious whatsoever, as this fort is actually very much doomed to that golem. We're going to have to see if they fight. As you said, all the heroics are here, and King Caffeine's getting a little low.
King Caffeine is getting a little low, but of course with Uther and his own Q, he can heal himself right back up. He did pop his Army of the Dead as well, which means that heroic is going to be down for quite a while. With the keep falling, though, of course, all of this was worth it for Cloud9, as they're now at about a full level advantage, give or take, and they've got a keep, which means Catapult minions are starting to roll bot.
We don't have to deal with Abathur. We don't have any promotes on the table, but on the flip side, top lane boss has been doing his work. I'm not entirely too sure he's going to get that fort. Zuna is here to try to make sure that that doesn't happen, so they might actually be able to just trade out pressure for pressure, but being down a keep at 8 minutes in, Glorious is definitely limping a little bit here in the early game.
And Zuna does end up saving that keep, or I'm sorry, that fort, by the way. So still 6 forts remaining for Cloud9. They have basically complete control of the map. They have a keep open up bot. This looks really good for them. That's bot lane is the only one they've been able to affect, but that is enough pressure that opening up that bot lane is going to allow them to rotate and take the top forts pretty easily if they get Glorious to split.
Wow, ZP is leading the charge into that fort. There is going to be 13 combo, but here comes the sandwich maneuver. And Kenma getting off a godlike Divine Storm. That's going to be the hook there from Biceps as well. Syracuse off to the side. Cawthon Luck was the one eaten, but down goes the Anubarak. Shakana not exactly hitting the mark. And 4 into 5 for the team wipe. It was a 5-for-1 combo. Let's build a snowman. It's Biceps isn't having any of it. We took down Arthas, but the rest of Cloud9 took out the entire team of Glorious.
Do you want to build a snowman? So I want to give a big shout out to Zuna in that fight. So Zuna pops strafe. Immediately, ZP's comes in, throws off his spikes, and disrupts the strafe. It was a perfect shot. ZP's did everything he could have hoped for. Zuna, already at half health at that point, instead of saying, well, I guess that's all, immediately repositions himself in the middle of the fight, but perfectly to go after whoever was strategically lowest, and picked up a triple kill almost immediately. Zuna's positioning there was just godlike, and it was really fun to watch. So I'll be keeping an eye on him in the rest of the fights, but I don't want to say he single-handedly won that for Cloud9, but there's a strong reason that fight went hard in their favor, and he's part of that.
Yeah, ZP's leading the charge into that fort. They felt over-eager. Glorious is like, we need this fort. We need the level 13s, but Cloud9 set up the ambush extremely well, and their positioning clearly superior in that, so it did end up in that team wipe. Level 13 talents are out. Level 16 talents now going to be out. A lot of rewinds on the table, but again, you know, you saw the triple Frostbolt and now Icy Veins on Jaina. We talked about this a little bit earlier in one of our matches, and
yes.
Icy Veins on Jaina could be some insane output, and we're going to have to see how it works well for them here, as it looks like another Glen.
Yeah, so they start with the water elemental right away. Kenma, again, look at that Divine Storm locking up everyone on the opponent's team. Here comes Shock and Awe right back on the other side, but it's not going to do enough damage. At the end of that Divine Storm, basically everyone for Glorious Gaming was down to about a tenth of their health or less, with the exception of Koth and Luck. So 2 members fall immediately, but it basically puts no one in Cloud9 in danger at all, and they're able to easily continue this push. They don't even care about the tribute off to the side. They want this gate.
And a gate, I think they are going to be granted. They got 13 seconds on the clock there for the Kerrigan, 9 now for the Jaina, but having a triple assassin comp with the 1 tank means that you need to get in and you need to snipe someone down in order to tilt the scales in your favor. Right now, this big and beefy comp from Cloud9, very reminiscent of, you know, older meta pre-patch, it's actually doing wonders. It is surviving, it is living, and it is dealing damage.
And so you mentioned real quick before that fight had started, you were talking about Icy Veins. Now, we discussed this a bit at length in between some of the games. I think this is one of the strongest talents, bar none, in the entire game right now. Because if you think of it, it's essentially a rewind, and then there's not really a good other talent you can have that has the great equivalence of everything costs 50% less mana. But if you think about it in terms of increased damage output, it's almost like combining an overdrive with it too, just because of how much damage you can actually drop out there. A limited amount of time, I know, but man, is it powerful. So we'll probably see it in a later fight as well.
Boss now coming out here for Cloud9. They do have that 16 talent tier, which means they still have that advantage over top of Glorious. And if Glorious wants to make something of this, they gotta do it before that boss goes down. While they were all clumped up, ZP's had a really good attempt there for the Bro Strike, but he didn't take it. And now again, Kenma comes in, wrecks face. That's going to be a nice shock and awe there from Koth and Luck in the back. I think Zuna is actually going to drop to the Envenom, and he will, but still, clean up. Isle Glorious, because my gosh, that we've seen so many deaths just in this one area, and Glorious, I think, might actually be out right here.
I was watching Zuna just run around like, come on, Uther, please! But it just never happened. It was probably on cooldown at that point. Or Kenma's being BM, in which case I think that's hilarious, and he needs to continue doing so. All right, so the Golem decided to divert to the tower off to the side, and unfortunately it's not going to go for the core again.
Is this standard for it to kind of divert? Nirak is going to be in some big pain. Has to use out the Ancestral, but how many catapults is that? I'm sorry. 5 catapults pounding on the core and a Golem off beating up mid-keep? Man,
seems good. Seems good. All right, so Zuna gets back up and teams are at full strength. Had that Golem went straight for the core, there's a potential I think they could have just stood in there and tried to nuke it out. As it stands right now, though, they're about to get another curse, then a Golem, and all the wild catapult minions are pushing, and with a 2-level advantage. This is about as good of a spot as you can get if you're Cloud9.
And a boss is right there ready to go to push during this keep. And I think that, yeah, Glorious, they know. They have to know. I mean, hey, there was a tribute up there, and now there's nobody on the map. It's clearly going to be at this boss. Look at this juke, though!
Oh my god, and they're gonna go right for the core. Look at that! Glorious knows it. They have to get back immediately because people are on their core right now and catapult minions are pushing from bot.
That was like the juke of the century. It's like, yeah, we'll do this boss. Hey, look, they're coming. All right, right past them and into the core. Kenma again in the back with that Divine Storm is locking everyone up. And that is going to be game number 1 as Cloud9 Maelstrom show why they're in the semis here over top of Glorious. But still, only game number 1. A lot of things can change here for game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, and Glorious has been playing pretty well lately. I think there was a time about a month and a half ago to maybe even 2 months ago, they slowly started dropping a little bit. They weren't holding as consistent of results as they had been, but they've been actually playing really well the past couple of weeks. I've had the pleasure of catching some of their matches and even casting a few of them, and they've started to step it up. So I still think they can make these games competitive. But honestly, Cloud9 Maelstrom right there was dominant from beginning to end. As soon as they got themselves those little lane advantages, they never let up. They were all over the map. They took objectives. objectives perfectly. They were coordinated, obviously, as we saw with that great juke from the boss there at the end. So well played by Maelstrom. They earned it.
It's just, oh God, I cannot get over how well timed that was. It's just like, all right, we're doing a boss. Okay, they're coming for us. All right, let's just abandon it and juke.
Might as well.
No creep jack in there, man. But still, that was only, again, game number 1. Believe it or not, though, early game advantage, I think, did actually go to ZP's and crew. They had the first blood, and the ganks and the roams between Arthas and Stitches didn't really net any kind of kills.
Yeah.
But it was downward spiral because the top tribute could not have been better for Cloud9.
Right. I mean, like, right at the very beginning, we saw Cawthon Luck pushing back Zuna just a bit. But after about a minute and a half into the game, Zuna dominated Cawthon Luck's life. I don't know if you watched, but every time we saw the we saw the boomerang come out from Volstad, we saw Volt just off to the side for Vala. She dodged every single one of the skill shots, constantly laid on auto attack fire, and it was that kind of half-level advantage that really opened up the game for Cloud9. So congratulations to Zuna. Obviously, I gave him a ton of credit for his positioning in that one particular fight where he got knocked out of strafe so early.
Right.
But yeah, he played a hell of a game. Good job.
Oh, overall. Yeah, Cloud9. All right, game number 2. They're going to do the map bans as we speak, which means, well, okay, there you can have the victory screen. That's cool. Friggin' overlay, la 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 la. All right, we are going to be jumping back into the semis as soon as we can, guys. So FourCourtJester and Kevin Naki bringing you the semis, probably our last series of the day. But we will finish it out. So don't go anywhere because we will be right back with game number 2.